for the shirt. They'll never give up. They'll fight till they're lifting high the world. We want that cup in the cupboard. Oh, we want that cup in the trophy, in the trophy. Win in the cup for the cupboard.
Are you whereabouts? Are you in Yorkshire?
No, I'm in Blackburn.
Blackburn, all right, near me
Yeah.
then. I mean, I'm just in Sale, so.
Not too far.
Yeah, I did think about doing it in person at one of your gigs, but then I thought maybe it might be a bit loud in that.
Yeah. It's actually the first couple of gigs we did there. It was empty, and that is a massive room to be empty to play to, you know.
What's it called? Again?
It's called Escape to Freight Island.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a huge place, but it started filling up a bit now, so yeah, probably
fair.
be a bit too noisy.
Yeah, I might have to come down at some point.
Yeah, get down there.
But what are you playing there? Is it kind of your own stuff, or is it a mix?
No, it's just like it's just a mix of covers, really.
Okay, right.
Yeah, it's a bit weird because everybody's eating, you know, so it's like silent in between songs. Just the reaction you want after a song.
Yes. Yeah, obviously, came across your work and kind of your involvement with Chatterbix with David Earl particularly.
Yeah.
I guess, talking about the Cup for the Cupboard song, World Cup song, like how did all that come about?
Well, I was doing bits for David, like I think it started during early on in the lockdown. And it was just stuff for his Twitch stream, just silly little bits of music, you know. And I think he'd heard one of my songs, and I ended up doing like a remix of one of his old songs from his band when he were in his 20s, I think.
Was that Happy Girl?
It was, yeah. So I remixed that and sent it him, and he loved it, you know. So I think from then on, I've just been doing bits. Like he'll send me silly bits of music, and then I reproduce it. It's been good fun. But yeah, so that song came about for his Twitch stream. We just wrote it for I think he were playing FIFA, one of the many teams that he set up. And he wrote that bit of music, and we just turned it into one of them songs. And then it got shelved for ages. And then they had me on the podcast on Chatterbix and mentioned making it into the World Cup song, and so that's how that came about. Yeah.
Yes, and like how much work do you have to put into it? Does David he gets like samples, doesn't he, from, is it Logic?
Yeah.
And then you just build on that kind of thing.
Yeah, so he does like a basic demo, which sometimes they sound all right, you know, but I think he likes me to polish it up a bit. So I played everything on it. I just reproduced it. I got on the drums, laid the drum track down, tried to make it sound a bit more like a band, you know.
Yeah.
I think that song took me a couple of hours to reproduce it.
Right.
I mean, it's quite easy when you've got the basics there. When you've got the demo, it's quite easy to just piece it all together again, you know.
Yeah. And it really does stay in your head. Like I was listening to, they've been promoting it a bit. I think it was on TalkSport, and then they're on 5 Live with Rick Edwards, and he was like, he was saying how annoyed he was that he actually liked it. But it really is a bit of an earworm.
It is, yeah. I mean, I love even to play it. You know, for a guitarist, it's really good to play. It's quite interesting, a little riff there. But yeah, no, I think it's a good song. I think it's. I put, a few people said the singing's not too good, but
yeah, I was really interested in what you're saying on Chatterbix actually about there's a piece of like software that can really improve vocals, and you can't tell it's been altered.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's a craze, isn't it, using autotune, because it's got a certain sound to it that people recognize. So I think that's why that's widely used. But the software called Melodyne, which I'm pretty sure is what it doesn't actually say that, but I've used Melodyne before, and I think that's integrated into the software that I use. And that's more natural, it just sounds a lot more natural. You can pitch it and stretch things and make it sound how you want it to sound,
Yeah.
without it
Um,
having that horrible auto-tune sound to it.
yeah, I've heard like Julian Casablancas has like deliberately been using it for his side project, I think.
Right.
Just a bit of something different, I think. Bit
I mean,
wacky.
you can hear it. Well, I can. You know, when you've trained your ear to it, you can just hear it all over the place. Like even back
Yeah.
to like right early 2000, it was everywhere, and you didn't really notice it at that point. But when I listen back to like Robbie Williams, Angels, and stuff like that, just I can't even remember when that came out. I'm sure it was early.
Yeah,
Was
it's
it
like
2000?
back end of the 90s, maybe, yeah.
Was it? Well, yeah, you can hear it really strong on there now.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. That's
Mm.
interesting, yeah. And they're right. David and Joe's attitude to it's quite funny, like almost reluctantly promoting it. Is there any chance for a video, do you think?
I don't. Well, you know, it sounds like they really don't want to be doing it, but I think deep down they actually do. I think they're kind of, I don't know, maybe they're trying to do that sort of anti promotion. So they're pretending that they don't like it, but
Yeah.
I think deep down they do. I think they love it. They'd
I
love
mean,
to be musicians.
yeah. So like when David was saying like someone mentioned like them maybe singing on Soccer AM, and he was like pretending he didn't want to do it. It's like he'd love to do that, surely.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I think he's a closet musician, David.
Nah, definitely. Like some of the songs he produces are really good. Like
Yeah, oh yeah, there's some great bits of music there.
I love this. Like I got into his Twitch as well, and when he was managing Grimsby, some of the songs from that are great.
Yeah, yeah. There is some really good stuff. It's interesting as well because his approach to putting the music together is really odd. Um, you know, the structure of them. Some of them are. I think, what? Why has he done that there? You know, he'll just just break into. I can't even explain it. It is odd, but it works.
Yeah. So what happened? Were you just like watching his stream and he said, "Oh, I can help you produce these kind of thing"?
Yeah, I'm trying to think what the very first thing was. I think he was talking about music, and I think it was something. I think he was talking about funk music and disco, and I did a little project during lockdown that was funk based. You know, it was kind of disco funk. And I think I managed to get a link to him through the Chatterbix thing, and he'd listened to it, and then he announced it on his Twitch stream, and he said, "There's somebody in the chat right now that makes really good music." And then he almost played the whole song. Yeah,
Yes.
so I think that was it. That's where he kind of got hooked on that.
And now you know the song. I mean, another one is Wi-Fi Baby Girl. It's an absolute banger.
Yeah,
I'm loving that
yeah.
as well. And they're both
I'm
on
almost
Spotify.
sure. I'm almost sure that David got Joe to do them, but because he did it almost like he were in the studio live on the chat on Chatterbix.
Yeah, I remember.
He was
Yeah.
getting him to do the vocals, wasn't he, bit by bit. I'm pretty sure he were doing that on purpose for me to remix it.
And was that the one he used?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I just took them off there and just created a song around them. I think it was the last line that Joe sung that just I could hear the song. It sparked off the song, that last line that he wrote that he sung.
Yeah,
But
it
yeah, it
says.
turned out all right. That
I think it's great.
he sent me Joe sent me a message saying I'd listen to it at least 20 times today.
Yeah, he's loving it. I think at one point he actually thought, I don't know if he knew about the effect, but he actually thought, yeah, he had a better voice than he thought at one point, didn't he?
Yeah. I mean, I must say, he wasn't too far out, but I did use that last line and then tune them all to fit that last line, you know.
Yeah.
Um,
And then in terms of getting on Spotify, like, is that something, do you have to pay like a yearly fee or something?
well, we, me and the drummer from my band Outsider, probably about 6 years ago now, we set up a little label. You know, it was just really to put out our own music. And then we got a couple of different bands and singers on board. So there's about 4 or 5, 6 now, including David and Joe, that we've got signed on that label. So
Okay, right. So you've already got a bit of a setup for it, really, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's really just for. I mean, there's a couple of singers locally that we wanted to just help out, really, and just point them in the right direction. And I do all the production for it. That's the deal. They sign the deal with us, and I'll produce everything for them. So
okay,
that's how that works.
And people can find the song just Joe Wilkinson, is it the artist name?
It is, yeah. I set up Joe Wilkinson and David Earl, so they've both got their own. But yeah, Joe's is on there. I'm hoping to do something else with Joe when he's got time. His second release.
Yes. Well, I'm hoping it goes somewhere big time because I think it is a good song, and we need something else, don't we, from Three Lions?
Well, yeah, I'd love it to go. I mean, it's all down to how much they want to promote it. If they really wanted to get it in charts and stuff like that, they're going to have to start paying radio promoters.
Okay, right.
To do that, but I think it's done all right. I think it's about, just on Spotify alone, I think it's like 5,500 streams since we uploaded it. But the problem is that when it wasn't going to be an official release, it was just David sent me a message and said, "How can we get this on Spotify?" And I said, "I'll do that for you." And then it was about a week later when they decided to do it as official release.
Yeah, because I definitely found it before they had that release episode.
Yeah. So it was a bit of a mess, really, that, because we should have held it back. But it was only later when David says, "Oh, we want to do it as a proper release." I said, "Well, it's a bit late, and I said it's also a bit late for me to take it down because it'll take another week or so before it comes back up on Spotify."
Okay, right.
So we ended up just leaving it on there and using that one. So it was all a bit weird, up in the air, but
yeah. And I think he said, I don't know if are they both on Soccer AM next Saturday, I think.
Yeah, I think they are. Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, I think he's traveling up, isn't he, David?
Yeah, it must be a big deal for him if he's going to leave Exeter. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, mate. Yeah, and obviously heard on your episode on Chatterbix about you had a band in the noughties that had some relative success. Like, what was the story with that?
Well, I think we put the band together about 2004. And it's had various different members, but the two main stayers was me and the drummer. We do a lot of the writing together, and then we signed our first deal in 2005, and that was with Blue Cat Records in Stockport. They were just a tiny little label. I think they've been dealing with a band called Haven, who they were quite big back then. I think they ended up getting signed to Sony or something like that. They were quite a good band, so we were supporting them a lot. And then they sort of released our first single, and that was promoted by a company called Red Alert, which was Nick Grimshaw from Radio.
Right.
He was doing a lot of the running around, promoting it to all the radio stations. So that did quite well. But the problem we had was the song that we released was so much like Keane. Like, we came out at exactly the same time, and we both got released we were both almost next to each other on Radio 2. And it just killed us because they had a lot of money behind them, basically, with a good label, and we had this tiny little one single deal, so we couldn't really compete, but we had a good time whilst it lasted.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to ask you who, like, your influences were, who you sounded like, so a bit of a Keane vibe. So, like, were you into any of the guitar music at the time? Like,
trying to think, because we were heavily influenced by what was going on around us, which, when I look back on it, was not really a good thing. I'd have rather have done music that I listen to, which is way off. You know, I listen to stuff like Steely Dan and a lot of the funk and disco stuff from the 70s. So if you were to listen to Outsider, you'd think, what? Doesn't come across at all, you know.
Right.
But yeah, it was just unfortunate because I hadn't even heard of Keane at that point. And they come out with what was it called? Everybody's changing.
Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah. So it was very similar to what we put out. And we just got everybody said, it's too Keane, it sounds too much like Keane. Oh God. Let's just ride it out.
So were you playing like in the Northwest a lot at that point then?
Yeah. We did a lot. Yeah, it was Manchester mainly. Night and Day and all them sort of places. But then we did have we had a tour company that were just throwing us up and down the country, playing to nobody in in colleges and unis and stuff like that.
Okay.
Yeah, we were traveling like, way down south, right down to Cornwall sometimes. It was just hideous. We were just getting petrol money and that were it.
Yeah. Hey, you mentioned Nick Grimshaw. I remember you saying that he would literally like drive you about and they'd be ringing like radio stations trying to get you on or something.
Yeah, he'd hire like a really nice car and pick us all up and then drive us down to. We'd be stopping on the way. He'd be on the phone, just like phoning XFM. I've got this band. Do you want to get them on for a session today? And that was it. And there was one day we went out and I think we did about 6 sessions in one day. And he hadn't worked it out beforehand. These were just on the phone. I've got these guys. So they obviously knew him and trusted him. And there we were. We went on, we did like Kerrang. And a funny story with Kerrang. We went in the studio and we'd taken like, electric guitars and amps and stuff like that. So we went to do this live set in the studio, and the guy doing the sound come up and he was putting a microphone up to an electric bass, like unplugged.
Right.
Like, oh God, this is weird. And we were like trying to explain to him, it's like that's going to sound awful. You're just going to hear the clicking of the strings. So that, yeah, I was just surprised at how professional they were. But,
yeah, fair play. Yeah, I think he's just about to release a book, isn't he, Nick Grimshaw? Because I was tempted to try and get him on because I know he did have some involvement with that stuff, with that scene back in the day. He's a bit of a face of that scene, I think, wasn't he?
Yeah,
like around the Libertines and stuff like that.
I'd love to know how much he remembers.
Yeah, fair. So what? So you've literally got the same band name, and you and the drummer are still going from that time.
Yeah. I mean, we have sort of periods where we just do nothing. It'll just be like, I'll just be writing songs and getting it ready to do another album, and then we'll go out and record. So there's been periods where it's been like a year and we've not done anything, so people think we've split up. But no, I've just kept it going because it's good fun. Me and the drummer, we have a good laugh together. So there's never been any falling out. It's always been a really good band.
Yeah.
No reason to split up, really. Even though I'm 47. Who cares?
So from that point on, did you say you had a single deal? So from that point on, was it all kind of like self-release kind of stuff?
Yeah. Well, I think shortly after that, I with that same song, I ended up winning the John Lennon songwriting contest. We just entered it for that and left it and forgot about it. And the next thing we'd won it. So that we got offered a publishing deal with Sony then.
Wow.
And I've got it over there somewhere. I never signed it. They just like they offered us something like $2.5 grand for the song, but they just own everything, and it was just I'm not signing it.
Right, okay.
And at that point as well, it was like once it would have been half of that. I think the pound to the dollar was sort of nowhere near. It was like half or something, wasn't it?
Right.
At that point, so we would have got about $1 grand or something to sign away everything, all the rights to that song.
Okay, right.
And
that's
yeah.
So yeah, it'd literally just be a one-off payment, and then they just do what they want with it.
Yeah, it would just. I didn't even get through it. It was like that thick for one song. I thought, there's no way. Oh, thanks.
Yeah, fair.
But
So there's no party that like thinks, what could have happened?
I don't think so. I can't imagine that they'd have done anything. It was publishing, so would they have done any promotion with it or anything? I just don't know. It just didn't say any of that. It was just like signing my life away for a grand.
Yeah. And can you hear that song on Spotify?
Yeah, that's on Spotify. There's, I think,
What's it called again? Sorry.
That's called Understanding.
Right.
Yeah, that was the song that we did all of the promotion around it. Very Keane, very Coldplay. It's just one of them. I can't listen to them anymore.
Well, I'll definitely have a listen now.
The last album we did was 2019, just going into lockdown.
Okay.
We're just ready to get out gigging again.
And am I right in thinking like you're a full-time musician, basically?
Yeah,
Yes.
pretty much. I mean, it's been, I keep mentioning lockdown, but that crushed everybody in the music business, I think. So, but it's starting to pick up again a lot. The work's coming back in.
Yeah. I can imagine. Go on, sorry, mate.
Yeah, I do a lot of the weddings and stuff like that just to keep the money coming in. It allows me to do all this. Making my own music gives me time.
Yeah, so you have like different bands basically. So you have your outsider, then you got like a wedding band, and then you got a Steely Dan covers band or something.
No, I mean I'd love to be in a Steely Dan covers band.
I thought Joe mentioned that. Sorry.
Oh no, that we did some covers where it was just different musicians from all over, and we just come together online.
Okay,
We
right.
did a bit of Steely Dan with that, and I think he liked that one. Yeah, the wedding bands are all it's just stuff that you expect to hear at a wedding.
Yeah.
Very much like what we do on Wednesday nights over at Manchester. So.
Ah, cool. And what are you playing mainly live? Is it guitar?
Guitar, yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
cool.
Bit of singing. I used to go out on my own doing weddings.
All right.
But the thing is with my voice, it's so loud. Like 2 hours of a set, and I'm just bleeding.
All right.
Yeah,
I was enjoying your acoustic cover anyway of Cut for the Cupboard. It was good.
Yeah, well, I thought someone's got to do some promotion.
Yeah. I've noticed how you're pushing it a bit, and it's just like, come on, if we're going to do it, may as well do it properly.
Yeah. Well, I don't know how long it's going to last, this promotion, but let's see what happens with this soccer. Is it Soccer AM? I know nothing about football.
Oh, really? Fair play.
I went on last week. I went on Radio Lancashire.
Yeah.
And she couldn't get rid of me quick enough. I think she'd heard enough of like people trying to do football songs. And
really?
And she said to me, "So are you into football?" I said, "No, not at all. I don't know anything about it." And she went, "Oh, right. So what's your predictions for the World Cup?" I'm like, "You just asked me. I don't know anything about football." Yeah.
But I was thinking you must have, I mean, Chatterbix has a big audience. You've had any like production inquiries kind of thing for you to get involved in?
I've done a few bits with Ben Rufus Green. And he plays David in Cockfields.
Right, yeah, I know you mean, yeah. You've been working on his podcast, haven't you?
Yeah, so I started editing that, and then he did like a live show of oh god, my brain, please work. What's it called? Taskmaster.
Oh, right.
So they did a live show down in Chesham, down south. And I ended up doing all the music for the night, reproducing all the music, for the tasks. And I had to do a piece of music that sounded like Taskmaster, but not exactly the same,
Okay.
But they had a good cast there, They had, I can't remember any of the names because I'm just useless with names. It was good.
But yeah, it's throwing up a few opportunities there.
Yeah. So little bits like that I've been doing, but
nice one.
I'm waiting for some paid work to come in. That'd be nice.
Yeah, fair play. But yeah, that's ace, mate. So yeah, just head to Spotify if you want to hear the song, and then I'm hoping it. Yeah, I'd like I say with the audience of Chatterbix, you think it'd get a bit of traction, wouldn't
Yeah, yeah. I also think it's doing people's heads in though.
you?
It's just like, yeah. There's when you look at it, there's like a massive spike on that day when they released it, and then it's just gone. It's just been dipping and dipping and dipping ever since. But
Okay.
you can't. I mean, you can't keep people just playing it all the time, can you? But
I imagine, like, from what you hear anyway, to make any money off Spotify, it's got to be a stupid amount of players, is it?
oh yeah, yeah. I mean, it'd be something like we'll be lucky just off that now to make to get a fiver from it. It's ridiculous. But
Yeah, that's why they need a video, like get on YouTube or something.
well, that's it. I'm hoping it gets to a point where we start playing it live. You know,
Yeah,
get
but
some live gigs together. They were talking about doing a live Chatterbix, weren't they?
yeah, there's a lot of procrastination about that, isn't there?
Yeah. So you know, maybe we could perform it live there.
That'd be brilliant. And like even like Happy Girls kind of died down a lot now, hasn't it? But I'd love to hear that
Yeah.
live as well.
Well,
Obviously Wi-Fi as well.
I might suggest that to him because I did when I re-recorded it. It sounded great, and then I sent it to him, and he was going to do his vocals and play a bit of keys and stuff on it, and he never finished it. He never got around to it. So I might suggest let's get that finished and get it up on Spotify.
Yeah, because he did tweet something about making an album at one point,
Yeah.
didn't he?
Yeah,
Which I was like quite happy about. I was like, that'd be great. And I assumed you'd be involved in that.
yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, we did have a couple of messages about it, but I don't. I think he wants to do it like sort of undercover. I think he wants to do it quite seriously
Right.
under a pseudonym, you know.
Okay. Well,
Um,
and then yeah, okay. And then what? Maybe announce it if he likes it, kind of thing.
yeah. I mean, I don't know how he's going to do it. I don't know, but I think he'd rather than it be these silly sort of songs, these throwaway songs for Chatterbix, he wants to do something a bit more serious. I mean, I hope he does. It'd be good fun, that.
Definitely, yeah. I've enjoyed a lot of it. All right, then, mate. Yeah, I guess that's it, really. So encourage
Cool.
people to go listen to the song and
Yeah,
even
Cup
get
for
to
the
Freight
Cupboard.
Island if fancy it. Yeah, Cup for the Cupboard. I suppose anyone that doesn't watch his Twitch will wonder why it's cupboard, but because he called his Twitch audience the twat cupboard, wasn't it?
That's right. Yeah, yeah. I couldn't mention that on Radio Lancashire.
I suppose, yeah, you could just say the cupboard, I guess. But I think that's
The
maybe
cupboard.
what I think that works in its favor a little bit because it makes it unusual.
Yeah, yeah, because it's meant to be a cabinet, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, so hopefully,
But it's also meant to be a cup, and the World Cup isn't a cup.
no, that's true, yeah. Or they
No.
what is it, a trophy?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and a cup should go in a cupboard. It's a cupboard, surely.
Fair point, yeah.
They'll run for the shirt, they'll never give up. They'll fight till they're lifting high the world. We want that cup in the cupboard.